Hi, I'm Greg. I have to admit I have this incredible desire to do this talk with the polygraph attached to me right now, and I don't think I'll get a chance. So I'm going to do something different. I'm not talking about something I'm going to do or I have done, and I don't actually have a super extended history with InterAccess, although I have always really respected it. And I've always kind of considered it a center of orbit for so many people I'm interested in Toronto. I'm going to talk about Marshall McLuhan, which feels kind of quaint, since we're talking about venerable platforms for critically engaging media, just as a personal exercise, I wanted to kind of revisit somebody that I've derived a lot from. And I think that his practice and his kind of legacy has a lot to teach to people involved around media art production, curation, whether they're guiding discourse or maybe just thinking about how they engage media themselves. So it's not so much about lionizing him as a person, but looking to some of the tools that he left us and maybe commenting on why they're relevant today. So first and foremost, McLuhan was like really fearless as an intellectual, and I think that's kind of his most endearing legacy. He didn't play it safe. He very famously commented after being attacked at one conference, you don't like that idea, I've got others. Which essentially was like, I can just sit here and do stuff and maybe some of it will stick. And in a lot of ways, the scholarship was throwing stuff at walls. If anybody that's kind of moved beyond the sound bites that have circulated widely, like there's a lot of kind of swinging for the fences and occasionally home runs. These are his tetrads, which are essentially this toolkit that he kind of already had built into his scholarship by about when he wrote The Mechanical Bride before 1960, and every medium, enhances, reverses, obsolesces, retrieves. If you read like a phone review in the National Post or something in Gizmodo, like, it can't hold a candle to this level of rigor, and this is 50 years old. It's kind of weird how quaint his model and how little it's kind of impacted a lot of the discourse around technology. It's kind of sad, actually. And then more importantly, and I think everybody in this room in some capacity can relate to this, what his practice was really fascinating about, or what was fascinating about his practice, was the way that he engaged the platforms through which he disseminated his ideas. So this is one of his many collaborations with Quentin Fiore, the graphic designer. Bruce Mao, Eat Your Heart Out. This was 1963 or 1965 or something. Fusion of polemic and visual essay and photo selection and thinking about type, and just really thinking through the tools that are used to communicate ideas. Which of course anybody that's making stuff should do, rather than sticking content in bins and working with templates and just being like a content maker, right? Screw that. This is, Woody Allen is like totally a radioactive reference right now, but I included this slide anyways. Anybody that is making media art shouldn't, populism is not a bad thing. Ideas kind of reverberating out and trickling through culture and actually changing discourse in a tangible way is definitely a goal, I'd say. And this is kind of, I think, one of the biggest takeaways about his practice that is really relevant. It isn't about preaching to a choir or practicing in a safe, hermetic space to people with a very prescribed language and very little risk, essentially. But just the his appearance on game shows, for God's sakes. What media theorist would do that now? I know it's a very different world, but I just think there's something there for anybody that's kind of making media and going beyond their obvious audiences that really relates to his scholarship. And then finally, to acknowledge the fact we kind of live in a post, Snowden Effect universe, I think there's a lot that could be kind of gleaned from his practice in thinking about an art that can reveal invisible infrastructures and interrogate protocols and expose stuff that we take for granted and know or do not even know is there. It's kind of a strange and wild world. I don't really have time to talk about this Julian Oliver and Daniel Velislav project, but I really recommend checking it out, called Newstweak, which is essentially like a headline hacking, man in the attack, wireless network exploit. That's kind of the space we're in now, this age of maybe art that can expose exploits or can practice in that way. So I think McLuhan is relevant in that capacity. Thanks.